Most professors do not need another AI tool. They need a better way to support students without doing the work for them. That is why I built 3 custom GPTs for my criminal justice students. One helps with career preparation, one supports course content, and one helps students understand our degree options. In this video, I'm going to show you what each one does, why I built it, and the guardrails I use so these GPTs guide students without replacing their thinking. I'm Chris, and welcome to the AI Professor, where we talk about practical ways professors can respond to AI in the classroom without turning teaching into policing. For those who don't know me yet, I've worked in criminal justice and criminal justice education for the last 30 years. I am currently a professor of criminal justice at a state college in Florida. I have been experimenting with AI in my classroom off and on for the last several years. I've created some custom GPTs, which I've deployed to my students with great success. Though I teach criminal justice and you may teach English or even K through 12, the concepts today that I'm going to show you can be adapted to your classroom and your specific subject of expertise. Today, I'm going to show you 3 custom GPTs. The first I have named Casey Justice, the Criminal Justice Career Coach. The second is Riley Response, the Integrated Response Course Companion. And the last is the Criminal Justice Degree Detective. Each one solves a different student problem. And that's where I think professors should start. Not with the tool, not with the technology, but start with the student problem. I have 3 student problems that I wanted to fix, and so I created 3 custom GPTs to address those problems. The first student problem I had was that students need career help before they feel career ready. That's where Casey Justice comes in. Casey Justice is my criminal justice career coach GPT. Casey Justice, or CJ for short, helps criminal justice students build stronger resumes and practice interviews by asking targeted questions instead of simply handing them finished answers. Now, let me be very clear, Casey Justice is not supposed to write the student's resume from scratch. And it's not supposed to let students fake their way through career preparations with the polished answer they did not actually think through. Instead, Casey works more like a criminal justice career coach. It asks students targeted questions about their experience, skills, accomplishments, and career goals, and then helps them build a resume step by step, tailor it to a job description, and understand how their background connects to criminal justice work. That matters because a lot of students do have useful experience. They just don't always know how to explain it. That part-time job, their volunteer work, customer service role, the security position they held, or even a classroom project may show communication, teamwork, ethical decision-making, emotional intelligence, or problem solving. But students often need help seeing that connection, and Casey helps them make the connection without simply handing them a finished resume. And when students move into interview practice, Casey does something else I really like. It requires their voice, not typed answers. In a real interview, you don't get to hide behind the perfectly edited paragraph. You have to explain yourself out loud. Casey can ask follow-up questions, evaluate the students' responses, and give students constructive feedback they can actually use. Let's take a look at Casey Justice in action. So this is Casey Justice, or the Criminal Justice Career Coach. It's built around 2 clear student choices, and that's either help me with my resume or interview me. If the student chooses resume help, Casey doesn't say, upload your resume and I'll fix it. That's not the assignment. It starts with this introduction. And then it asks whether the student is a new job seeker or someone already working in the criminal justice field seeking advancement. And this matters because a student who's been working as a deputy and who's trying to promote maybe to sergeant or something will have a completely different way to complete their resume. I have one here for a deputy sheriff, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that in. And so it's going to use that job description to guide the resume building process step by step. And it's going to go through that job description. It's going to look for required skills, preferred qualification, keywords, employer priorities to help the student create their objective statement, as well as it'll lead them through education, work experience, certifications and training, skills, and then optional sections like awards, leadership, or community service. So here you can see that it's giving them an example of a style. It's saying don't copy it exactly. So it gives feedback now. It's going to help the student to revise it. It's saying to make it stronger. They're asking it to add a quality tied to the job description. So as you can see, it used that job description to give them some feedback on how to revise it. This is important. The student still has to participate. Student still has to think through their own experience. All right, so now I want to show you the interview process here. So if a student chooses the interview module, Casey is going to shift to mock interview mode. Again, it's going to ask them if they've been working or if they're just getting started. It's going to select from preloaded interview questions that I've provided to it based on actual human resources departments of local agencies that gave me these questions. It's going to ask one question at a time. It doesn't show the student the full list of questions ahead of time. It does give the student time to prepare an answer. So obviously you can see here it's asking, why are you interested in a career in criminal justice? So a student can take some time to craft their answer, which obviously doesn't happen in a normal interview. However, it gives them good experience to go ahead and craft their interview answer before they actually go for an interview. Now, it's telling them that they have to use voice mode or upload a voice or video recording. It's not going to let them type it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. I'm interested in a career in criminal justice because I want to serve the community in which I was born and raised. I have a strong desire to help those who are victimized and bring the perpetrator to justice. I love solving puzzles and feel I have a good investigative mind.
Your passion for serving your community and helping others shines through. I love that you connect it to justice and problem solving. Now let's dig deeper. Interview question 2. Tell me about a class or experience that challenged or inspired you and why.
It's going to continue. It's going to ask them at least 3 questions, up to 5 questions. At the end, it's going to give them reflection questions that they bring into my course learning management system, into Canvas, and that's what I grade. But only after the student actually completes the module. And that's one of the guardrails I care about most. Students do not get the reflection questions just because they ask for them. So I'll go ahead and ask. And as you say, you have to go ahead and complete this in order for me to give you those reflection questions. So they get them after they complete the resume process or after they participate in the mock interview. And that keeps the GPT tied to learning, not shortcutting. So the second problem I wanted my GPT to address was students needing help navigating course concepts and course content without being handed the answer. That is where Riley Response comes in. Riley Response is the integrated response course companion. This GPT supports my integrated response course and the book I wrote for that course, Integrated Response, a field guide to modern public safety coordination. The purpose of Riley is not to replace the course. It's not there to write assignments. It's not there to give students random internet answers. Instead, it's there to help students move through the course structure. Riley can help students start the correct module, review chapter summaries, answer checkpoint questions, and ask questions about course concepts. But it also has some limits. It's supposed to use the course material. It's supposed to follow the module structure. It's supposed to guide the student back to the course, not away from it. And this is where I learned one of the biggest lessons about building GPTs for students. You can't just build it and assume it will behave. You have to test it and then test it again. Then test it like a student who misunderstood the directions, skipped 3 steps, and typed something vague at 11:58 p.m. Because that student, it exists. With Riley Response, I had to think carefully about what students actually need. They may need help understanding a concept like unified command or communication coordination or the actual term public safety integration. So Riley's role is to guide, to explain, to clarify. Students can ask it questions. It can help students understand the material, but it should not become the student. Let's take a quick look at Riley Response in action. So here is Riley Response, Integrated Response Course Companion. There are 3 distinct ways a student could start using Riley Response. They have received previous instructions that tell them how to start using it, but I'm going to go ahead and click one of these that are already preloaded. So it's helped me understand a concept. It's going to give them a welcome. It's going to ask them what they need today. Do they need to start a module? That's the module they're in their LMS. Or do you need to ask a chapter or concept question? And here I'm just going to ask it a quick question. And this GPT is based specifically on the book that I wrote. It does not go out into the web or the internet to come up with its responses. It has been told in its custom instructions that it will only use information in its knowledge files. So the response that it gives is specific to the book. If I want to start a module, I'm going to just type in the module number and I'll show you what the process is that students go through. So they're going to see that module 1 covers chapters 1 and 2. It's going to tell them they can access the book for the course as well as any study materials by clicking on this website. It tells them to go read the chapters, watch the lecture video, listen to a podcast episode, review the slide deck, and then when they're done with all that, they're to come back here to get their checkpoint questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit done. And then it's going to give them a summary of both of the chapters, and then it starts right into those questions. Now, as the student answers these questions, they are to take the answers and bring them back to the LMS or into Canvas to show me they have interacted with Riley Response. So this course companion GPT is, again, not a shortcut machine. It's helping the student instead of saying, here's the answer. It's a support system saying, let's understand the concept so you can answer better. The third problem I wanted to address with a custom GPT was answering students' questions. Students often have questions when my office is closed, or maybe they come to an open house or an information session or a campus event, and they're there taking in a lot of information at once. So in that moment, they may not know what to ask. Then they get home, think about it later, and suddenly they have questions. Questions like, what degree should I start with? What if I already completed the police academy? Can I take classes online? What's the difference between the AS, the BS, and the crime scene concentration? Who do I contact if I need help figuring this out? And this is where my custom GPT, this criminal justice degree detective, becomes useful. It gives students a place to ask the questions they forgot to ask, maybe the questions they were too nervous to ask, or the questions they didn't even know they had yet. The criminal justice degree detective reduces confusion. But just like my first GPT, this GPT also has very clear limits. It can only answer from approved criminal justice program information. It does not invent policy. It does not guess about a student's individual transcript. It doesn't make up personalized education plans. It can't evaluate certification credit or answer international student questions. It won't be able to tell you if you're eligible for a scholarship or financial aid. Basically, anything that needs an official review, it's not going to be able to help the student. So when a student needs that level of help, the criminal justice degree detective sends them back to me, the criminal justice program staff. Let's take a look at the criminal justice degree detective. So this is the criminal justice degree detective. It answers questions related specifically to my college's criminal justice programs, and it's actually trained only on those programs and the program information. As you can see, there's 3 starting points here that a student can go ahead and click on to get started. If the student has a question that doesn't relate to any of these ones to get started, they can go ahead and start asking. So here's a common question we get. I'm interested in criminal justice at Polk State, but I don't understand the difference between an Associates of Science, Bachelor's of Science, and the Bachelor's of Science with the crime scene options explained in simple terms. So it's going to go through and explain the difference between the AS, the BS, and the BS with concentration. Then it's going to go ahead and ask them a follow-up question here. So do they already have an associate's degree or are they just starting? So I'll go ahead and say just starting. And then great, if you're just starting, this is the starting points. You first have to earn your AS in criminal justice, and then you continue into the bachelor's, but you can also choose that crime scene investigations concentration. This is the pattern I want educators to notice. Each custom GPT has a different job. KC Justice helps students with resume building and mock interview practice. Riley Response helps students move through course content. And the criminal justice degree detective helps students understand criminal justice program information. Those are 3 different student problems, 3 different GPTs, 3 different boundaries. And that's the part too many people skip. They build one giant GPT and expect it to do everything. They want the one GPT to be able to tutor students, write feedback, answer advising questions, explain assignments, be a career coach, find policies, summarize readings, and probably make dinner if you asked it nicely. But in education, that can get messy fast. The more jobs you give one GPT, the more likely it is to confuse its role. So, my recommendation is this. If you're an educator thinking about building a custom GPT, do not start by asking, what can AI do? Start by asking, where are my students getting stuck? Are they stuck understanding course concepts? That may be a course companion. Are they stuck preparing for jobs? That may be a career coach. Are they stuck navigating program information? That may be a program guide. Are they stuck understanding assignment directions? That may be an assignment support GPT, but each one needs a clear purpose, a clear audience, clear knowledge files, and clear boundaries. Here is the bigger takeaway. AI in education doesn't have to be about replacing the professor, and it should not be about replacing student thinking. The better use is support. Support where students are confused, support when they need a nudge, support when they need practice before the real thing, support when they need help finding the right answer to a question. This is what these GPTs are meant to do. They're not meant to remove a student from the learning process, but instead they're there to help the student stay in it. So, if you're thinking about building your own educational GPT, use this simple test. What student problem does it solve? What is it allowed to do? What is it not allowed to do? What source material should it use? Where should it send the student when AI is not enough? And I think a final question, and a very important one, is how will you test it before students rely on it? Because building the GPT is not the hard part. Building a responsible GPT is the hard part, and testing it is where the real work begins. If you're interested, check out my previous videos on GPTs where I show you how I structure the custom instructions behind one of these GPTs, including knowledge files, job descriptions, resumes that I include for the GPT. And if you're an educator experimenting with custom GPTs, I'd love to know, what is the one student problem you wish AI could help you solve without creating a bigger mess? Because that's probably where your best GPT ideas starts. I'll see you in the next video.